What is up, guys? Welcome back. Today we are talking about water. Stay tuned. All right, guys, so today we're going to be talking about water, where to find water in an urban and city setting. And a lot of the places you may look for water may work out great. You know, you're able to find jugs of water, you're able to find a ready resource of water. But what happens 6 months to a year into the survival situation and water sources are now being scarce and you're having to scavenge and look further places and look other places to find the water? So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So let's talk about locations to look for water. So some places, blatantly obvious. Some places are going to be like, never thought of that. One place, and this is going to be the first place that I would look a lot of times, is going to be in the tank of a toilet. Not the bowl, but actual tank. That's fresh water that refills in that tank and is not contaminated unless someone has put one of the cleaning tabs in there or put something in there that every time you flush the toilet, it cleans it. Also, hot water heaters. If you can find a hot water heater and you open up the drain, you might have to filter the water because of calcium buildup, but it is potable water. Another water source that some people may know about, some people don't, you'll need a special tool for that I'll talk about also. But if you look on industrial buildings, high-rise buildings, commercial buildings that have multiple floors, a lot of times there is a water spigot on the outside of the building. A lot of times it'll be covered by a brass box or a box of some kind, and you're going to need a Silcock key, or what I hear is also called a multi-purpose four-way key, to turn the water on. What's going to happen is the water is going to drain out of the building from the pipes because that's one of the lowest points, and you're going to be able to drain the water at that point. Also, if you're able to get inside the building, check for basements. There might be water pressure release valves that you're able to release some water. Also, another place to look. Now, I will say it's probably going to be murky because the pipes are steel, so you are going to have to filter and process that water. But in your sprinkler systems, a lot of those have fresh water in them, but because those pipes are rusted, I would say be careful with that because of contamination. About is probably pretty obvious, but might not have thought about it. Check fire departments, landscape companies, or your city or county workers that have water trucks that they use for whenever they're cutting up the roads or for tanker trucks from whenever they're hauling water to fires. A lot of those, even if they're not full, will have a good supply of water in them. Now check the contents, because sometimes it could have weed killer in it or some other kind of chemical that they use that they've mixed in it. So just check it and make sure it is a pure water container. Guys, now these are going to be some places that I want you to use caution if you try to get water from there, okay? My first thing I'm going to say is fish tanks and fountains. Even if the fountains have fish in them, there is a lot of chemicals that are put inside that water to keep those fish alive. Like I'll use, for example, Bass Pro Shop has a massive fish tank in every one of their stores. Those fish are given so many chemicals, that water has so much chemicals in it to keep algae out, to keep everything clean and pretty and sparkly, that water and even the fish are not consumable. Also, fountains and swimming pools, even if they don't have fish in them, will possibly have chlorine in it or some type of cleaning chemical to keep the water nice. So understand, if you're getting that water, that you need to know how to process and clean that water so you're not drinking those chemicals. All right. All right, guys, the next thing I want to talk about is creeks and streams. Each creek and stream, and I'm talking about in the mountains, you would need to process the water anyways. Don't ever drink directly from a creek or stream. But in city and urban areas, even in some residential areas or suburb areas, those creeks and streams can be polluted. And I'm not talking about by bacteria or viruses or even debris. I'm talking about actual pollutants that are man-made, chemicals that have been dumped in the water. There's places here in Chattanooga that it plainly says, do not even get in the water because of the pollutants that's in it. Yes, have they cleaned up a lot of those things over the last 40 and 50 years? Yes, but those contaminants can still be there and still be in the water. So one of the things I want you to look for if you find a creek or stream, is there dead animals around it? Fish floating on the water, a lot of dead bugs around it, or dead animals. Do you see on regular animals such as mammals drinking from the water? If so, that opens it up to where it could potentially be okay, but still use caution with those. Because man-made chemicals you cannot filter out with certain filters. They're really hard to clean. Viruses and bacteria, a little bit different. But man-made chemicals are harder to take care of in the filtering and purification process. I told you some few places that you'll be able to go look for water that you might not have thought about, and some things to be cautious about. Look, water is going to be one of your biggest struggles to find in a city and urban situation. Because even though water might be available, it might not be potable, as in drinkable and usable. So, as you are building your bug out or building your bug in, think about water and how you can collect it and preserve it and be able to purify water in different ways. Now, there's a lot of different ways to make water filters with sand, charcoal, and stones or gravel. And you can also make a desalination device or a little steel with a kettle and some cups. If y'all would like to see that, just let me know. It's a neat little project. But make sure you have a way to be able to process your water safely, so no matter what happens and when the zombie apocalypse falls on us, you can survive. Guys, that is the video. I hope it was informative to you. I will see you on the next one. God bless, and get outside and have an adventure.